On a rain-lashed night in 84 BC, 14-year-old Julius Caesar dons the sacred linen toga virilis beneath thunderclaps that priests called Jupiter's omen. 20 winters later, pirates near Pharsalus captured Caesar, who laughed while demanding they double his ransom to 50 talents of silver. At dawn on January 10, 49 BC, Caesar's sandals sank into the Rubicon's muddy banks as he murmured Alia I acta est to his trembling legions. Within 60 days, his 13th legion marched 900 miles from Ravenna to Brundisium, eating barley gruel from bronze paterae under relentless Adriatic winds. At Alesia in 52 BC, Caesar's engineers built twin fortification walls stretching 25 miles while Vercingetorix's 80,000 Gauls watched from rain-slicked hills. Starving Gallic warriors threw carved bone dice in muddy trenches as Caesar's circumvallation trapped 330,000 people inside the oppidum's walls. During the siege of Alexandria, Caesar's scribes burned scrolls from the Great Library to fuel signal fires reflected in Cleopatra's obsidian eyes. On August 9, 48 BC, Caesar's outnumbered 10th Legion broke Pompey's cavalry charge at Pharsalus using hidden pikemen ordered to stab upward at horses' bellies. Caesar pardoned Brutus after the battle, gifting him a Corinthian bronze dagger whose cold weight would later haunt both men. In the Forum, Caesar's land reforms granted 20,000 plebeian families small farms carved from patrician estates, their gratitude smelling of freshly turned soil. He extended citizenship to all Cisalpine Gaul in 49 BC, causing Senator Cato to shred his own toga in the Curia's marble corridors. The Julian Calendar's implementation in 45 BC required 90 days of intercalation, with priests counting stars through winter smoke. Caesar's engineers drained the Pontine marshes using Greek-designed hydraulic pumps, creating 100,000 new acres that smelled of wet reeds and fish. Cleopatra VII arrived in Rome in 46 BC concealed in a rolled carpet that unfurled before Caesar's feet, releasing jasmine perfume into torchlight. Caesar's golden curule chair sat permanently in the Senate, its lion-footed legs looming over empty spaces where Pompey's allies once stood. At his quadruple triumph, Gallic chieftain Vercingetorix choked on prison vapors while Egyptian captives carried mechanical Nile flood gauges. Caesar minted coins bearing his wreathed profile, the first living Roman so honored, their silver edges worn smooth by plebeian fingers. He reformed debt laws, ordering clay tablets of loans smashed before crowds in the Forum where creditors wept into woolen sleeves. The Basilica Julius foundation stones were laid with mortar mixed from volcanic ash, its future colonnades destined for law courts. During the Feriae Latinae, Caesar sacrificed a white bull to Jupiter Laterus while Haruspices read doom in its steaming entrails. His legionaries received plots near Capua, their calloused hands planting vineyards where Spartacus rebels once camped. Caesar reduced grain dole recipients from 320,000 to 150,000, sparking bread riots quelled by Egyptian wheat from Cleopatra's barges. In the tabularium, he ordered census records rewritten to include Transalpine Gauls, their names inked in vermilion beside Roman families. At Munda in 45 BC, Caesar's exhausted veterans finally crushed Pompey's sons beneath Spanish sun that melted wax on shield rims. He standardized Mediterranean piracy penalties, ordering captured corsairs crucified along coastal roads where gulls pecked at their limbs. Caesar's physicians treated his epilepsy with powdered pearls dissolved in wine, the bitter draught served in Samian ware cups. He planned Rome's first public library with scrolls salvaged from Alexandria, its shelves smelling of cedar oil and papyrus. During Lupercalia in 44 BC, Mark Antony offered Caesar a diadem woven from Syrian gold threads that he refused 3 times before roaring crowds. Senators whispered near the rostra as Caesar appointed magistrates for 5 years ahead, their wax tablets bearing names of loyal generals. Brutus received an anonymous scroll listing Caesar's affairs, including Servilia's name, his own mother, written in Gallic charcoal. On March 14, 44 BC, Caesar dined with Decimus Brutus, eating oysters that tasted of the Tyrrhenians' metallic tide. That night, his wife Calpurnia dreamed of blood-drenched marble statues collapsing onto their Palatine bedchamber. At dawn, Caesar ignored the Haruspex Spurina's warning about the Ides, fastening his leather breastplate over a silk tunic. Along the sacred way, a slave pressed a scroll into his hand detailing the conspiracy, but Caesar never broke its wax seal. In Pompey's theater portico, 60 senators clustered near a bronze statue of their former rival, daggers hidden in toga folds. Tullius Cimber grabbed Caesar's purple-striped toga, the signal for Casca's first stab that glanced off collarbone bone. Caesar roared. 23 wounds bled onto the mosaic floor as Caesar fell toward the statue's feet, his last view Pompey's stone eyes. Brutus raised his Pugio dagger, shouting. Slaves carried Caesar's body home on a litter dripping crimson onto cobblestones, followed by keening women tearing their hair. Roman crowds chanted funeral dirges while Egyptian mourners wailed for Isis, throwing cinnamon sticks onto the flames. Caesar's will revealed bequests of 300 sesterces to every citizen, igniting riots that burned senators' villas on the Aventine. Cleopatra fled Rome with infant Caesarion, her ship's purple sails vanishing toward Alexandria's lighthouse glow. Brutus minted coins depicting 2 daggers and the pileus cap of freedom, their edges sharp enough to cut conspirators' fingers. At Philippi in 42 BC, Caesar's ghost appeared to Brutus in a tent smelling of wet wool, foretelling his defeat. Octavian discovered Caesar's secret correspondence with Catullus, the poet whose verses once called him. The deified Caesar's temple rose where his pyre burned, its altar strewn daily with fresh roses by veteran soldiers. Caesar's Julian calendar outlived the Republic, its leap year calculations precise as legionary marching steps. His drainage projects made the campus Martius fertile, where cabbages grew over forgotten graves of Civil War dead. Cleopatra taught Caesarion to trace Caesar's profile on wax tablets while Nile crocodiles basked on riverbanks. Augustus completed Caesar's Forum, its Venus Genetrix statue gazing toward Gaul where conquest began. In Germania, veterans told campfire tales of Caesar wading through Susione's swamps with maps clutched in rotting leather cases. Caesar's autopsy notes listed the second stab wound, between first and second ribs, as instantly fatal, contradicting conspirators' claims. His Gallic War commentaries became legionary training manuals, their vellum pages stained by recruits' sweat in desert forts. The Lex Julia municipalis standardized city governance from Hispania to Syria, its bronze copies nailed in provincial forums. Caesar's engineers' bridge designs spanned the Rhine for centuries, oak timbers groaning under marching cohorts. Vestal virgins guarded Caesar's will in the Temple of Vesta where flames illuminated his signature, Civilives Caesar. On anniversaries of his death, commoners left garlands at Pompey's statue base where bloodstains resisted scrubbing. Caesar's reforms birthed the imperial bureaucracy that administered Rome's grain dole for 500 years. His military innovations, field hospitals and standardized siege engines, became legion doctrine from Britannia to Mesopotamia. Cleopatra's suicide in 30 BC fulfilled Caesar's prophecy that only his bloodline could rule both Rome and Nile kingdoms. Caesarion died at 17, Octavian's soldiers strangling Ptolemy XV beside limestone cliffs overlooking Alexandria's harbor. Tiberius still used Caesar's battle maps when suppressing Illyrian revolts, their faded ink showing Gaulish river crossings. In Pompey's taverns, drinkers toasted Caesar with Falernian wine while graffiti proclaimed. Caesar's drainage canals transformed the Pontine marshes into wheat fields that fed legions guarding Hadrian's wall. The Julian calendar measured Nero's reign and Trajan's conquests, its days counted in sundial shadows across the empire. Constantine saw Caesar's ghost before Milvian Bridge, the deified general pointing toward eagle standards in morning fog. When Visigoths sacked Rome in 410 AD, Caesar's drained marshes flooded again, swallowing villas built on his reclaimed land. The last Roman in Britannia calibrated his water clock by Caesar's calendar while Saxon raiders breached abandoned watchtowers.